Good morrow, scholars. Welcome back to Witch and Wizard. How are you guys today? I don't know what that was. I'm confused. So, sorry for another late upload. I was doing some cleaning, some rearranging, getting all this stuff organized and everything. Quiet, phone. Anyway, before I get too rambly, we are on Chapter 6, page 25, Whisty. The two goons in gray marched toward me. Instinctively, I held up both my hands. Amazingly, the New Order soldiers stopped in their tracks, and I felt a surge of strength. If only for a moment. Did we just go back in time? I squealed. Last I looked, this was the 21st century, not the 17th. I narrowed my eyes. Another glance at that smarmy Byron Swain in his shiny boots spurred me on further. You can't just come in here grabbing us. Whitford Allgood, Byron Swain rudely interrupted, continuing to read in an official tone from his scroll. You are hereby accused of being a wizard. You will be held in custody until your trial. He smirked tauntingly at Wit, even though under normal circumstances my brother could have picked him up and wrung his neck like a chicken's. I guess confidence isn't hard to come by when you have armed soldiers at your beck and call. Whisty is right. This is utterly crazy, my brother snapped. His face was flushed, his blue eyes shining with anger. There's no such thing as witches or wizards. Fairy tales are a load of... Never mind. Who do you think you are, you creepy little weasel? A character from... What? Gary Blotter and the Guild of Rejects? What? Anyway. My parents looked horrified, but not actually surprised. So, what? I'm confused. I remembered slightly odd lessons my folks had given us throughout our childhood, about plants and herbs and the weather. Always the weather, and how to concentrate, how to focus. They also taught us a lot about artists we'd never studied at school. Like Wiccan Trollak, De Glooming, and Frida Halo. As I got older, I guess I thought my parents were maybe just being a little hippy-dippy or something, but I never really questioned this stuff. Was it all somehow related to tonight? Byron looked at Wit calmly. According to the New Order Code, you may each take one possession from the house. I don't approve, but that's the letter of the law, and I will abide by it, of course. No. Under the watchful eye of the gray-garbed soldiers, Mom quickly moved to the bookshelf. She hesitated a moment, glancing at Dad. He nodded, and then she grabbed an old drumstick that had sat on the shelf for as long as I could remember. Family legend has it that my wild man grandfather back in the day actually leaped on stage at a Groaning Bones concert and took it from the drummer. Mom had held it out to me. I feel like I know what that's a reference to. Let me know if you can think of it. Please, let's see. Mom held it out to me. There we go. Please, she said with a sniffle, just take it, Wisteria. Take the drumstick. I love you so much, sweetheart. Then my father reached for an unlabeled book I'd never seen before, a journal or something, on the shelf next to his reading chair. He thrust it into Wit's hands. I love you, Wit, he said. A drumstick and an old book. How about a drum to go with that stick? Couldn't they give us a family heirloom or something vaguely personal to cheer us up? Or maybe Wit's mammoth stash of non-perishable junk food for a handy sugar rush. Sorry. Not one part of this waking nightmare made any sense. Byron snatched the tattered old book from Wit and flipped through it. It's blank, he said, surprised. Yeah, like your social calendar, said Wit. The guy can be funny, I admit, but his timing sometimes leaves something to be desired. Byron slammed the book against Wit's face, snapping his head sideways as if it were on a swivel. Wit's eyes bulged, and he sprang toward Byron, only to have the soldiers body block him. Byron stood behind the bigger men, smiling wickedly. Take them to the van, Byron said, and the soldiers grabbed me again. No, Mom, Dad, help! I shrieked and tried to pull away, but it was like wriggling in a steel trap. Rock-hard arms were dragging me toward the door. I managed to twist my neck around for one last look back at my parents, searing my memory with the horror on their faces, the tears in their eyes. And right then I felt this whooshing sensation as if a stiff hot wind were blowing up against me. In an instant, blood rushed to my head, my cheeks flooded with heat, and sweat seemed to leap from my skin and sizzle. There was a buzzing all around me, and then, you won't believe me, but it's true, I swear, I saw and felt foot-long flames burst out of every pore in my body. That sounds scary. Chapter 7. Wisty, again. I heard scared silly screams everywhere, even from the commandos, as I stood gaping at the orange-yellow tongues of flame shooting off of me. If you think it's weird, listen to this. After that first moment, I didn't feel the least bit hot, and then I looked at my hands. They were still, skin-colored, not red or blackened. It was far out, actually. Does anyone still say that? Suddenly, one of the soldiers swung Mom's porcelain vase at me. I was drenched, and the flames were gone. Byron Swain, his cronies, were stamping out the drapes and some smoldering spots on the carpet where the soldiers had dropped me. But then Byron himself, who'd apparently fled the house during my immolation, reappeared in the doorway, his face faintly green. He pointed a spindly, shaking finger at me. See? 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 He shouted hoarsely. Lock her up, shoot her if you have to, whatever it takes. I was suddenly overcome by this horrible stomach-twisting feeling that this night had been inevitable, that it was always meant to be a part of my life story. But I had no idea why I thought that, or what it meant exactly. Chapter 8. Wit. I hadn't hallucinated before, but when I saw Wisty burst into flame, that's what I suspected it was, a stress-induced hallucination. I mean, I expect even well-rested, grounded, grief-free people wouldn't just go, oh, look at that, my little sister just turned herself into a human torch. Hee-hee, references. Am I right? But pretty soon, what with the heat and the smoke and our living room drapes catching on fire, it started to dawn on me that this was, really happening. Then I thought the New Order thugs had set her on fire. So I guess that's how I managed to muster enough rage to break free of their grasp, and I swear I would have decked the creeps if I hadn't had to scramble madly to help put her out first. Then utter chaos broke out in our house. I've never been in a tornado before, but that's immediately what I thought was happening. The windows suddenly exploded, and the wind poured in with the force of an angry mountain river, hurtling things, broken glass, floor lamps, side tables around the living room. I couldn't hear anything over the noise, and it was raining so hard that the water itself, to say nothing of the debris it was carrying, stung like a cloud of bees getting shot through a leaf blower. That would so mess you up. And of course, I couldn't see anything either. To open your eyes would have been asking to be permanently blinded by wood splinters, glass shards, and plaster chunks. So my breaking free from the thugs didn't do me a bit of good. We were all clinging to the floor, to the walls, to anything that seemed more solid than ourselves, just trying not to get sucked out a window and flung to our deaths. I tried yelling for Wisty, but I couldn't even hear my own voice. And then, in an instant, everything was still and quiet. I moved my face out of the crook of my arm and took in a sight I won't forget the rest of my life. A tall, bald, extremely imposing man was standing there in the middle of our demolished living room. Not scary, you think? Think again. This is the dude who turns out to be evil personified. Hello, all good family, he said in a quiet, forceful tone that made me pay very close attention to every word. I am the one who is the one. Perhaps you've heard of me. My father spoke up. We know who you are. We're not afraid of you, though, and we won't bend to your ugly rules. I wouldn't expect you to bend to any rules, Benjamin. No! Every time! I had one job. Where was I? No. Almost. Are you Eliza? He said to my mother. Aspiring deviants like you always value freedom above all else, but it doesn't matter whether you accept this new reality or not. It's the youngins I'm here to see. What? This is a command performance, you understand. I command, they obey. Now the bald dude looked at my little sister and me, and he smiled quite congenially, even warmly. I will make this simple for the two of you. All you have to do is renounce your former existence, your freedoms, your way of life, and your parents in particular, and you will be spared. You will not be harmed if you obey the rules. Not a hair on your heads will be touched, I promise. Renounce your former ways and your parents, that's all. Simple as pie. No way! I yelled at the guy. Not going to happen ever, Whisty said. We renounce you, your baldness, your terribleness. Is she like 10? Although I probably would have said something similar. What's up, buddy? Remind me to feed Iggy when I'm done. He actually chuckled at that, which totally caught me off guard. Whitford Allgood, the one said, and looked deeply into my eyes. Something strange happened then. I couldn't move or speak, only listen. It was the scariest thing yet that night. You're a beautiful boy, I must say. Whitford, tall and blond, slender yet well-muscled, perfectly proportioned. You have your mother's eyes. I know that you were a very good boy until recently, ever since you had the sad and unfortunate disappearance of your girlfriend and soulmate, Celia. Frustrated rage boiled up inside me. What did he know about Celia? He smirked when he spoke of her disappearance. He knew something. He was taunting me. The question is, he went on, can you be good again? Can you learn to obey the rules? He threw up his hands. Don't know, he exclaimed, even as my paralyzed mouth prevented me from screaming the string of choice obscenities I was trying to fling at him. Then he turned to Whisty. Wisteria Allgood, I know all about you, too. Disobedient. Recalcitrant, I don't know. A truant, over 2 weeks of detention due to be served at your high school. The question is, can you ever be good? Can you possibly learn to obey? He stared at Whisty, silent, waiting. And in true Whisty fashion, she did the most adorable little curtsy, then proclaimed, of course, sir, your every waking wish is my command. Whisty stopped her sarcastic speech rather suddenly, and I realized that he'd paralyzed her too. Then the one who is the one turned to his guards. Take them away. They shall never see their parents again, nor shall you, Ben and Eliza, see your very special offspring until the day you all die. That's not good. Seriously though, what's with the short chapters? I don't understand. Anyway, chapter 9, Wit. Whisty and I were in a black van that had no windows. My heart was thumping like an epileptic rabbit's, and my vision was nearly whited out with adrenaline. It took every shred of sanity I had left not to throw myself at the van walls. I pictured myself smashing my head against the metal, kicking open the back doors, helping Whisty out, and escaping into the night. Only none of that happened. As far as I knew, I was not a wizard, and not a superhero either. I was just a high school kid who'd been ripped out of his home. I looked over at poor Whisty, but I was barely able to make out her profile in the dark. Her wet hair dripped onto my arm, and I realized she was shivering badly. Maybe with cold, maybe with shock, maybe with cold and shock, and total freaking disbelief. Understandable. I put my arms around her bony shoulders, awkwardly, because I was now handcuffed. I had to slip her head between my arms. I couldn't remember the last time I'd done that, except maybe to pin her down because she'd gotten into my stuff, or when I'd caught her spying on me and Celia. I couldn't think about her right now, or I might completely lose it. You okay? I said. Whisty appeared to be totally uncharred. No roasting hot dog smell or anything. Of course I'm not okay, she said, leaving the usual "you idiot" off at the end of her sentence. They must have dumped something flammable on me. I'm not burned, though. I didn't see them spray anything on you, I said. It was like, boom, flamesicle. I mustered a weak smile. Of course, I always knew your hair was dangerous. Whisty is a real carrot top, with thick, wavy, bright red hair that she hates, but I think is kind of cool. Whisty was too freaked out to take the bait about her hair. At first. Wit, What's going on? What does schmucky beyond schmucky Byron Swain have to do with it? What's happening to us and to Mom and Dad? It's got to be some kind of terrible mistake. Mom and Dad never hurt a fly. I remembered my parents then, held fast and helpless, and I had to swallow my rage. Just then the van came to a lurching halt. I tensed, staring hard at the doors, primed to barrel somebody down, even in handcuffs. Even if it was a giant steroid-enhanced soldier. Sorry. I wasn't going to let them hurt my sister. I wasn't going to be goody-goody and obey their stupid rules. Okay. Chapter 10. Wit. It was like we'd woken up and suddenly we were living in a totalitarian state. The first thing I saw looming over me were dozens of flapping flags and the big black blocks, letters N-O. No. It seemed totally appropriate, even a touch poetic. No. Wisty and I were outside a huge windowless building surrounded by a chain link, concertina wire-topped fence. What? Giant letters that read New Order Reformatory were engraved in stone, rising high above the steel entryway. Then the doors creaked open, and I realized that barreling our way to safety probably wasn't going to work out so great. 10 more guards, these in black uniforms, came up the front, joined the two drivers, and formed a semicircle around the rear of the van. "Okay, now watch them closely," I heard one say. "You know, there." "Yeah, we know," said another cranky voice, one of the drivers. "I got the burns to prove it." I didn't even bother struggling as those brainless stormtroopers, hee. Hauled us forward, then dragged us through the tall barbed wire gate. I'm pretty big, 6'1", 190 pounds. I'm supposed to be about 190, but I'm closer to 230. In fact. But I'm like 6'2", so I guess it's okay. But these guys acted like I was a sack of popcorn. Wisty and I tried to stay on our feet, but they kept yanking us off balance. "We can walk," Wisty yelled. "We're still conscious." "We can change all that," said one of the thug guards. I tried. Listen, you've got the wrong... The guard next to me raised his billy club, and I shut up mid-squawk. They pushed us up the concrete steps, through the heavy sealed doors, and into a brightly lit foyer. It looked like a prison, with a burly guard behind a thick glass window, a locked gate, and another guard with a billy club at the ready. I heard a loud buzz, and the gate opened. Don't you guys feel kind of dumb?" I said. "I mean, a dozen giant men for just 2 kids? It's kind of embarrassing. Wouldn't you..." Ow! The guard jabbed at my ribs, hard, with his wooden baton. "Start thinking about your upcoming interrogation," the guard said. "Talk or die. Your choice, kiddies." That's disturbing. Chapter 11. Wisty. It was beginning to feel a lot like Christmas. No, sorry. I couldn't resist. Like this sickening nightmare was for real, and now I wasn't even going to be allowed the small comfort of going through it in my old pink PJs. They made us change into gray-striped prison jumpsuits that looked like something out of World War II. Witt's jumpsuit fit him. Guess he was standard prisoner size, but mine hung on me like a sail on a windless day. My funky PJs had been my last connection to home. Well, without them, the only thing I had from my former life was the drumstick. The drumstick? Why a drumstick, Mom? I missed her already and felt a deep anxiety creep in when I wondered what they'd done to her and Dad. "Don't pull her arm like that," Witt snapped at my guard. He was right. It felt like my arm was about to pop out of its socket. "Shut up, wizard," the surly guard said, dragging us through yet another electronic gate marked property of the New Order. Then we were in an enormous hall. Okay. 5 stories high, surrounded on all sides by cages and barred cells for criminals. And us, me and my brother. Can you imagine? No, you probably can't. How could anyone in their right mind imagine this? One of the cell doors slid open, and the guards threw me inside. I fell, hitting my knees and hands hard on the cement floor. "Wisty!" Witt shouted as they hauled him past my door, which immediately slid shut. I pressed my face against the bars, trying to see where they were taking Wit. They shoved him into the cell next to mine. Wisty, you okay? And Wit called over right away. Sort of, I said, examining my scraped knees. If I'm allowed to totally change what okay means. We'll get out of here, he said. I could hear the braveness and anger in his voice. This is all just a stupid mistake. Au contraire, my naive amigo. What? Said a voice from the cell on the other side of Wit. What? Who are you? Wit asked. I strained to hear his words. I am prisoner number 450209A, said the voice. Trust me, there's been no mistake, and they didn't forget to read you your rights, and they aren't going to give you a lawyer or a phone call, and your mama and papa aren't coming to get you. Never. And that's a long, long time. Wait, what? What do you know about it? I shouted. Look, how old are you? Said the voice. I'm almost 18, Wit said, and my sister's 15. Well, I'm 13, he offered, so you'll fit right in here. And then I looked across at the halls on the other side of the block. I saw face after face, one scared kid after another, all wearing 2 big prison jumpsuits. It looked like this whole jail was full of kids. Nothing but kids. What the hey, let's read another one. Chapter 12. Wisty. Yep, it's pretty much just us kids around here these days, said the voice from the far cell. I've been here 9 days. I was one of the first, but in the last 3 days, this rat hole has really filled up. Do you have any idea what's going on? Wit asked softly, so as to not attract a guard's attention. Not a whole lot, Jefe. But I heard some of the guards talking about a clean sweep, the voice said quietly close to the bars. You remember hearing about the new order? Yeah, I joined in, but I wasn't really paying attention. Okay, so you've been living inside your head, somewhere dark and nasty, said the voice. But, if it's any consolation, so is most of the rest of the country. See, the new order is a political party that's been winning all the elections. They're in charge now. In just a few months, they've gutted the old government and instituted the Council of Ones. This really sounds like the path the United States is going down right now, doesn't it? Heard of them? The one in command, the one who judges, the one who imprisons, the one who assigns numbers, the one who is the one, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so the new order, politics, said Wit. What's that got to do with us? They're the law and they're the order, amigos. They're the ones who put us here, and they're the ones who decide what to do with us. But why are they doing these unspeakable things to kids? I spoke up again. Because we talk back? Because we're hard to control? Because we have imagination? Because we're not brainwashed yet? Who knows? Why don't you ask the one who judges at your trial? I squished myself against the bars as hard as I could, trying to see through to Wit. Trial? What trial? I asked. We're going to trial for what? Wham! A guard had sneaked up, grabbed my arm through the bars, and twisted it the wrong way. If you keep talking to the other prisoners, I'll put you all in solitary, he growled. He gave my arm another hard, agonizing twist and laughed like some crazy old cartoon villain. I was so mad I wanted to tear the bars down and kick him in the throat, and all of a sudden an electric rush traveled up my body. Uh-oh. The next thing I knew, I was watching the guard through a sheet of flames that were coming from me. Again. Ah! The guard shouted as the sleeve and pants leg of his uniform caught fire. He ran and grabbed an extinguisher, spraying himself with it as a team of his buddies converged on my cell. Wisty, Wit yelled. Duck! I threw my hands up to cover my face as I was drenched with flame-smothering foam. Correction. Wisty-smothering foam. Then suddenly the flames were out and I looked like a flocked Christmas tree. That's funny. Or lemon meringue pie. Red-haired zombie snowman risen from the dead. No more tricks, the guard said hoarsely. You're coming with me. 4 new order guards with bats and stun guns stomped in and grabbed my arms, hauling me out to the walkway. 4 more creeps were opening Wit's cell. By the time the guards shoved us into a room marked interrogation, I was ready to show the one who interrogates just why I had 2 weeks of detention racked up at my school. But when the door opened, it was just that Spud, Byron, Swain, followed by a pair of guards. "Miss me?" he asked with a sickening grin. Well, I'm really thirsty and kind of tired. I could use some water, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I hope you guys enjoyed those chapters. What was I going to say? So probably after this, I'm going to go drive around in my new car, and I want to go up to the park, and hopefully someone else will go with me. I want to have a chance to do a lightsaber choreograph fight kind of a thing going on, but also I want to get up to Barnes & Noble and get some new books. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. If you have any suggestions for books, I need to find a new shelf to put all my books in. And until next time, goodbye everybody. I really am thirsty.